Does speed enhancement software actually work? Here on the internet, we see many ads promoting software products which can enhance your internet speed. I wonder, how could this be? Imagine that you are using a 1 Mbps internet connection, and the highest speed you can get from it is nothing above the limit. The internet services are programmed to transmit certain sized data packets at a certain rate. So when we can't do anything physically, like manipulating the line and such, how come those software developers claim that their products could enhance the internet speed? Edit. Thanks to all people. I have got my answer.
In short, the answer is no. First of all, as you have correctly stated, you cannot exceed the speed limit set by your ISP. This just won't happen. It is a hardware restriction of the connection you are using, whatever that connection is: fiber, ADSL, dial-up, 3 grams, 4 grams. A software that claims to overcome the restriction described above is clearly fraudulent. It is important to mention that there are ways to speed up web browsing to a certain extent. However, this is a very special case. You can speed up your browser by rapidly switching between multiple proxies and opening several simultaneous connections to download the same resource. However, this is normally offered as an extra functionality with the browser, like Opera's Turbo mode. Yet, even with this functionality enabled, your actual broadband speed limit remains the top limiting factor. It is also worth mentioning that there are methods to increase actual data transfer rate. One of these methods is to use compression. However, this method does not apply to some dodgy software offering to increase the speed, because compression on one side must be matched by decompression on another. For example, if you send data and use some software to compress it, then whoever received the data should be aware of the compression and be capable of decompressing, and vice versa. Another thing that is very important to note is that there is a very poor regulations about advertising on the internet. Anyone can claim anything about software they distribute, virtually no responsibility is assumed. If it is not a big company with a real name, then no one will really bother with claims. In fact, most of the programs that claim to speed up your internet will contain either malware, spyware, trojans, advertising, or all of it at the same time. By the way, same applies for the software that claims to remove all viruses from your PC. Such software is intended for naive people without technical knowledge who will just click install and agree without giving it a second thought. If you have asked this question out of curiosity, then I hope I have summarized it well enough for you. This is a good question, BTW. If you were actually considering to use such software, don't.
Do I think many of these offers are legit? No. But are there ways in which a software could significantly speed up your internet experience? Yes. Possibilities include compression. If they provide a compression server, which takes your request in a compressed format, gets the resource on the web and relays it to you compressed, it can be a major speed improvement depending on the content type. Good examples are Opera Turbo, Opera Mini, Windows Phone compression. With websites, they can even use lossy compression and filter advertising and heavy third-party load at their end, or present it on demand, which can save you tons of bandwidth. Caching. This also needs an external server, speeds up responsiveness of websites by caching their contents. But your ISP can do this as well, and many major services provide several caching servers. But still, if a service would provide a massive fast caching server right next to you, small distance in hops, you could have a noticeably improved response time. DNS service. The software could provide you with a faster DNS service than your default one, which would reduce response time for many usual use cases. System tweaking. Especially for high bandwidth transfers, there are a bunch of settings like number of connections, packet size, TCP and IP protocol tweaks, which could affect your performance. Although your default system settings should be pretty good and self-regulating, it is entirely possible someone can tweak the settings for a bit more performance. Protocol tricks/hacks. I seriously don't know how much of this one could actually work. But several protocols support various priority levels and other options, which could possibly be used to get your traffic routed faster by, for example, lying about its contents.
I have to disagree with many of the answers here. Usually, this will slow down or throttle your access to certain websites or web services. In general, if you live in America, you will never hit the actual physical limit of data you can receive. YouTube and Netflix are the prime example of throttled services. If your ISP sees traffic going to or from YouTube, you can bet your connection is going to be suboptimal. However, if you were using one of these services, your ISP would only see traffic going to and from the service, and they would have no idea you are currently accessing YouTube. Measuring my own traffic, I get, on average, 250 kilobytes per second of data from YouTube normally. Through a private VPN I subscribe to, I usually get at least 2 megabytes per second during prime time. I will not name my VPN for the sake of objectivity. I don't want this to look like an advertisement. I am not trying to imply that all speed-enhancing software works, because we all know how many scams there are on the internet. But real speed-enhancing services do exist.
In Ho, there are a couple of ways the perceived internet speed is enhanced. Compression, basically. If the endpoint, say website, is using compression techniques, then basically, when you connect to that site, the amount of data that you download is less than the actual size of the final page. Since you would be downloading the compressed version of the site, which after the download gets decompressed on your local machine to its original size and presented to you. Acceleration device, similar to the above, but what happens here is that the data transferred between site A and site B gets compressed and sent across the same internet line, but because of the compression techniques used, you would end up transferring a larger amount of data over a short period of time. Companies like Riverbed and Silver Peak are in the business of one optimization, and a quick search will give you what they can do.
If you want to support the channel, please consider subscribing.